thinking of Mortal Kombat characters who have been to the darkest depths of jobbing and disrespect, there are few, if any, better examples than the Tarkatan that physically should not be able to say his own name, Baraka. Since his debut back in 1993's Mortal Kombat II, Baraka hasn't exactly been known for much besides losing. Like a lot. Fast forward to today though, and we're suddenly talking about him as one of the standouts of the newest Mortal Kombat movie. So how did this happen? How did Baraka go from a constant punching bag to arguably one of the best characters in the modern age of MK? Well, to understand this unexpected rise, we have to go back to the very beginning and cover everything up until today, from Mortal Kombat 2 to Mortal Kombat 2. Hello my fellow oddities, this is how Mortal Kombat redeemed Baraka. MK2 introduced Baraka as part of a nomadic race of mutants. Originally, they were meant to be demon hybrids, connecting them to the Netherrealm. This idea, while not scrapped per se, kinda just faded away as the series went on. They weren't yet called Tarkatans, that name wouldn't come until Deception, and they were outcasts living in the wastelands of Outworld, but Baraka built enough of a reputation for his fighting skill that he was brought into Shao's army. In this game, he's known for leading the attack on the Shaolin Temple, which was the first real sign of Baraka's less than stellar luck, because really all this did was piss off Liu Kang enough to enter the second tournament, win it, and ruin Shao Kahn's plans. Which in turn also ruined Baraka's plans, because he plotted to overthrow the Emperor with help from Mileena, but her death at the hands of Kitana, along with Shao's defeat, put a swift halt to that. Baraka would then sit out for Mortal Kombat 3. The lore does state he was part of the invasion, but I guess he wasn't rel enough to be playable, or really even be mentioned. He would return in Mortal Kombat 4, but not in the base game, instead the Mortal Kombat Gold expansion for the Dreamcast. At this point, Baraka was just chillin', hopping from realm to realm, and while vibing in Edenia, Shinnok recruited him with grand promises of ruling alongside him. Naturally, Baraka immediately planned to betray and overthrow him as he did for Shao Kahn, and naturally, those plans were stifled by Liu Kang beating him up again. Quick intermission! The same year Mortal Kombat 4 came out, the second theatrical MK film of the 90s, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, hit theaters and it featured Baraka. But it was not exactly a great showing for our guy here. He shows up for exactly one scene when Liu Kang attempts to free Kitana from prison, has a fairly pathetic fight, and then falls into a pit of fire. Wait! Hold up. That's not even Baraka! That is literally a reused shot of Rain dying earlier in the film. Bro didn't even get his own death scene. But back to the games, he skips out on Deadly Alliance, but returns for Deception. And just like that one girl named Tiffany in high school, he's got a brand new man that he's with for the third game in a row, this one being the Dragon King, Onaga. Baraka actually does do a little bit of work here, freeing Mileena from prison and leading his Tarkatan army to fend off anyone opposing the Dragon King. And this actually included Mileena herself as a misdirection. At the time, Mileena was posing as Kitana under orders from Onaga, and so sent the Edenian forces after the Tarkatans to lead them away from what was really going on. Unfortunately, a ton of Tarkatans end up dying in the staged conflict, which pisses Baraka off. He demands a meeting with Mileena, but decides to send a random Tarkatan soldier in his place to be safe. Mileena can't tell the difference because she's clearly racist, and brutally kills the decoy, leaving the real Baraka safe and sound. He would then return in Armageddon. He did absolutely nothing and died. So looking back, it doesn't seem that bad, does it? I mean, yes, he has his rough patches and never actually achieves his goals, but at least he isn't getting completely dog-walked every time he's on screen. Well, that is about to change very, very fast, and it's almost entirely because of one specific mechanic going forward. The chapter system. This started in the next game, Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, and boy, strap in, cause it's gonna get bad. Baraka has one fight in each story mode this game has, the Mortal Kombat side and the DC side, making him one of the least prominent characters of the whole game. Seriously, was Baraka really a better use of a character slot than Johnny Cage or Kung Lao? His first appearance is in Sonya's chapter, who's looking for Liu Kang in the Wuxi Academy. Baraka just sorta appears and decides to fight her, and loses. He comes back joined with Quan Chi and Shang Tsung after Scorpion has captured the rage-consumed Kitana. Baraka suggests they kill her, I guess. I don't know, you try to make this out. But instead they go after Shazam. No, I'm not calling him Captain Marvel, old heads, which is where Baraka next fights in Shazam's chapter, taking place in the Netherrealm. He loses, again, but at least this is to a top-tier DC superhero and not Sonya. And then he just kinda hangs out for the rest of the game, participating in the final battle along with everyone else. So you can probably already see the issue with the chapter system. Any character who doesn't get a chapter is completely incompetent and will get folded if they get into any sort of physical confrontation. Baraka goes 0-2 in this game, maybe even 0-3 if you count the final battle, so off to a bad start, but it's gonna get even worse. Mortal Kombat 2011 or Mortal Kombat 9. In the opening scene, we see Baraka's corpse from the end of Armageddon, where he suffered an unfortunate fate at the hands of Kung Lao's hat. But once the real story begins, Baraka starts off jobbing straight off the bat, being the second fight in story mode and being thoroughly embarrassed by a man who doesn't even think the tournament is real. Shang Tsung then begs Johnny to kill him. Bro's like, dude, this guy's incompetence is an active threat to our goals, please finish him. But Johnny doesn't, and Baraka shows up again with Shiva on the pit to assassinate Cyrax after Shang Tsung saw him talking with Raiden. And he doesn't even lose alongside Shiva. Cyrax beats her up, and Baraka, I guess, just awkwardly watches before attacking after. What an idiot! He shows up again in Jax's chapter. You can guess what happens. And then he appears one last time in the story in Jade's chapter. I will say the one W Baraka takes in this game is this right here.
You must keep your eyes open to anticipate the finishing blow.
What are you talking?
That should be me for real! But yes, Baraka goes 0-4 in this game, and he only appears in 2 of the 3/3 this game is broken into for the 3 original MK games. That's pretty bad. This is when the jobber reputation really took full force. No success, no moments of being intimidating, and really no story at all. He only exists to lose. And that's the main thing. If he lost a bunch but had a cool backstory or had a hand in some big event, then that would not be great and probably devalue that story quite a bit, but at least he'd have something to make someone go, you know what? You were worth including in this game. But clearly he's not, as Mortal Kombat X would not have Baraka on the playable roster. But somehow, he still jobs in this game too. MKX had NPC characters you could fight in the story mode but not play as. Baraka was one of these characters. He only appears in flashbacks. Why? You'll find out very soon. Firstly, there's an event that apparently happened off-screen during MK9. Here, Baraka fights Raiden and loses, making him technically 0-5 during the events of that game. But then he reappears on the side of Melina during a flashback in Devora's chapter. Here, not only is he beaten by Devora, but he was the beginning of Devora's terrorizing on the iconic Mortal Kombat cast, as he would be brutally murdered, having his brain and heart smashed together. This was the really low point. In a game he's not even in, he jobs out and dies. His reputation was truly in the gutter at this point, and it was looking like NRS was degrading his character down and down until people were seriously considering if he should ever come back at all if this is all they were gonna do with him. But he did come back in the very next title, Mortal Kombat 11. Now, Baraka does still go 0-3 in this game's story, making him now 0-9 in the NRS games overall, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. First, he battles Kotal Khan, where he does get a moment. It's not a lot, but he runs through some of Kotal's warriors, killing them brutally before confronting the Khan himself. He loses, but that's an acceptable loss to have. He reappears later on in Kitana's chapter, and pause. This is where a switch was flipped in Baraka's character. Kitana is here to ask Baraka for help, as they need all the forces they can get in Outworld, and the only way the Shokan will join their side is if the Tarkatans do. This is a tall task. The Tarkatans have been loyal to Shao Kahn for years, and Kotal, well, he's not exactly a big fan.
Line them up. Execute them.
After defeating him though, Kitana actually manages to get through to Baraka, promising for him and his people to have a major role within Outworld going forward, rather than be the outcasts and servants they have been under Shao. And Baraka agrees. I know it doesn't seem like much, but this is the first bit of, what's the term? Story Baraka has had? in 3 story modes. So Baraka helps the good guys, and not only to overthrow Shao Kahn, but eventually in the final battle against Kronika. Seeing Baraka side by side with the heroes and having that role within Outworld was, while not a redemption quite yet, a shot in the arm the character needed to hopefully become something more. So, the timeline gets reset. Liu Kang is the new Keeper of Time and must craft his new era. Here, Baraka and the Tarkatans are no longer a race in Outworld, but a quarantined group of normal people, well, normal for Outworld, infected with a disease known as Tarkat, which gives them their signature appearance and blades. Originally, Liu Kang intended to reward Baraka's alliance from the previous game by making him a rich Edenian with a loving family. However, the Tarkat disease would not only push him into the rugged camps alongside the others suffering from it, but it would also take his family. Baraka's first story mode appearance is within Kenshi's chapter. Here he is having his bone marrow forcibly removed by Shang Tsung, who is stealing it to develop a cure for Melina's Tarkat. However, the heroes do not know this, nor does Baraka, and so they attack. Believing them to be working with Shang Tsung, Baraka fights the Earthrealmers, specifically Kenshi, and loses. Okay, off to a bad start, losing, but I promise he gets better. Along with the Earthrealmers, he is captured and taken to Shang Tsung's flesh pits. And this is when Baraka gets his own chapter. It finally happened. Baraka is about to win. He defeats some Tarkatan clones before beating their jailer, the other redeemed character from this game, Reptile. He's then the one who breaks the team out of jail, getting back into Outworld where they meet Ashura in the Living Forest. They have a misunderstanding, cause it's still the chapter system and they need contrived fights, and Baraka wins. They kiss and make up before going off to find Quan Chi's Soul Stealer. They destroy it and capture the sorcerer. Baraka decides to stay in Outworld while the others leave, and that's the end of his story in this game. Short but sweet. Oh, and I guess you can pick him in the final battle for an extra handful of wins if you want. Mortal Kombat 1 really saw MK11 Baraka and how well received his change of heart was, and went all in on it, making Baraka officially one of the good guys, with a tragic but inspiring story of being sick, having his life essentially ruined, but still doing the right thing. That doesn't sound like something I should be saying about Baraka, but you know what? I'm here for it. I can't wait for Baraka to hopefully get another playable spot in the next game and to see the expansion on his story. Tarkat is a deadly disease, so I wonder how they're gonna handle it. I think if he does die, this version of him has earned a death, which sounds bad, but I mean narratively, he's had a satisfying story, so him dying doesn't make him feel like a waste. Still, I would prefer if he didn't and got more to do in the next title. But now we're at the latest piece of Mortal Kombat media released featuring Baraka, Mortal Kombat II. When we heard Baraka would be in this movie, when we saw his poster, when we saw him in the trailers, we all knew what it was gonna be. He'd be a random tournament fight having only one scene just to make Johnny Cage look good, give him a win, and likely a brutal fatality as well. I mean, just look at Annihilation, that's exactly what happened there. Look at the Legends films, which I haven't talked about yet today, but Scorpion's Revenge killed off Baraka, brought him back with a BS excuse in Battle of the Realms, only for him to job and die again. Listen, the game's improved Baraka as a character, but come on, the general consensus is still the same, some things don't change, Baraka is a jobber at heart. But no. Mortal Kombat 2 not only gave Baraka a decent role in the story, but they made him one of the most likable characters in MK movie history, with a badass and not at all degrading fight scene, despite being defeated. Baraka's first appearance in the movie comes when the heroes need to get through a secret passage into Shao Kahn's castle. The only way there though is through a Tarkatan village led by Baraka. Liu Kang challenges him to battle after negotiating doesn't work, and if he wins, Baraka must help them through the passage. Baraka refuses. However, Johnny Cage starts mocking him and his whole race, and this angers him enough to accept the challenge, but not against Liu Kang, against the actor. Johnny is getting thoroughly destroyed at the beginning of the fight, so much so he resorts to running away more than actually fighting, but Baraka chases him through town and still puts a beating on him. It's only when Johnny embraces his movie character persona where he's able to confuse Baraka enough to land the nut punch, ending the conflict. Baraka, so impressed with the display of combat he just witnessed, declares Johnny Cage the greatest fighter he's ever seen and asks for his training and to become his pupil. Johnny agrees, but only if Baraka guides them through the passage, which he does, killing the Outworld Shadow Priest guarding the entrance. In this movie, they gave Baraka an MCU Drax-esque personality, a man who looks terrifying and is so incredibly deadly, but also has a very literal and simple sense of the world. And deep down, despite looking like a horrific monster, he has a heart. Look at that smile.
Aww. So cute! So cute!
His dynamic with Johnny is so fun, and I would really like to see them making Tommy Scissorfist in the next one. He appears one final time at the end of the film, where Johnny is telling him the incredibly true with no creative liberties taken story of the movie. Baraka then joins the heroes to save the Lost Earthrealm fighters in the Netherrealm. And that will do it. From MK2 to MK2, that is the fall and rise of Baraka. I am really optimistic about the future of this character. With the Mortal Kombat 1 sequel, plus the Mortal Kombat 3 film, it seems like the rapidly growing Baraka fanbase has a lot to look forward to for the character. Having him go from mindless lackey to lovable, negotiable good guy is really what the character needs now. I'm not saying I want all this to be permanent. Baraka, I'd be interested in being a Cabal-like character of switching sides a bit, doing whatever he sees fit for his people, not necessarily in a treacherous Devora type of way, but in a natural, I have a duty to my race type of way. I do not want Baraka to just become a good guy forever. That was not the original intent of the character. But right now in this moment, this is what's right for him, and I want to see more. Do you? Or do you think Baraka should be loyal to Shao Kahn and the baddies? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you feel like, and that's wraps on this one, my fellow oddities. I'll see you next time.